Don't echo. All right, now we're good to go. So we're talking about matrices. Like I said, no calculator today. We're just introducing them. I like how there's so much space. All right. Singular word for this is matrix, like the movie. And plural is matrices. A matrix is a rectangular array, which is basically a grid of numbers written within brackets. Not the curly brackets, but just the regular square brackets. The brackets look like this. Okay, so numbers that are in a grid inside that. When we name a matrice and we refer to it, we use an uppercase letter or a capital letter. For example, down below, this matrix is matrix A with a capital A. So if I say matrix A, you know that I'm talking about this one. All right? Now, that's what we call them. Now, then, I say now all the time today. Then we can classify them. We classify them by their dimensions. Clay and Tanyan. Dimensions, it's like a 2x4, like the, or a 2x6 or whatever. So you always say the number of rows first and then the number of columns. So how many rows does that matrix A have? 2 rows, which is a great restaurant, and 3 columns.
Wait, 2 rows of restaurant?
Yeah.
Where's it at?
It's in Allen. It's really good. So this matrix is 2 by 3.
You ever gotten to dessert and they come out like the big old show?
Yeah.
I didn't leave out there at the same steak and shake in Dallas. Same.
No, no. All right. Now, it's to help you remember. Hello. Come back. To help you remember that rows always come before columns, think of, let's see if any of you have drank this recently, RC Cola.
Oh, yeah.
Do you like RC Cola?
One of them a day with the moon pie?
Okay, so remember, it's R and then C. Do you really have one a day?
Yeah, sometimes at work I'll just grab one.
They would have that readily available at Diamonds. Okay, R then C. RC Cola. RC Cola. Rows then columns. Okay. So let's figure out the dimensions of these matrices down here. So for the first one, how many rows? 3 rows. How many columns? 3 columns. So what are the dimensions?
3 by 3.
3 by 3. Next one, how many rows?
4.
1 by 3.
1 row. 3 columns.
Wow, this next one is going to be crazy.
1 by 3. Now the last one, how many columns?
4.
Ooh, I tricked you. 1 column. How many rows? 1, 2, 3,
There's still 4 by 1.
4 rows. So what's the dimensions?
4 by 1.
4 by 1. Very good. Rows then columns. Rows then columns. RC Cola. Okay. You good with that? We're okay with this so far? Are you looking forward to your homework as much as any other homework? All right, so we talked about matrices in general, what their name is and how we can classify them by their dimensions. But now we're going to talk about the inside. So a matrix element is each number that's in a matrix. So each of those numbers is an element of the matrix. We can identify the matrix element by its position in the matrix. We use a lowercase letter, so little letter, when we're talking about the things inside with subscripts. And the same thing again, we say row, then column number. So down here it says A13. So A, we know we're using matrix A that's up there. It's the only one right now. But you know you're using matrix A. And then this 1, is that for the row or the column? What comes first? Row. So row 1. Row 1, column 3. What is that element?
3.
Equals 3. All right, next one. What row? Which column? So it's 17. Next one, what row?
2.
What column? 1. So it's 10.4. Last one, let's go with green. What row? What column? Levi, what's that one? 24. Make sure you always do row. Okay, so that's across. And then column down. Okay, because if you do it opposite, you're going to get it backwards. And it's wrong. Okay, so row, then column. R-C, cola. That's the best way I have for you to remember it. Any questions so far?
Is there any graphing on that one?
No.
Sweet action.
Hello. Okay, it's not echoing. Matrices can really simplify information for us. And so as we go through this chapter, we're going to actually use matrices to get answers for us, to kind of actually work with them. But for now, we're just going to practice creating the matrices. So we have this bar graph that represents what it says. Energy is often measured in British thermal units, BTUs. Okay, we're talking about like gas, electricity, power, okay, all that. And we are going to write a matrix to represent the data below. Estimate the values from the graph. So just looking at this, we have China, information for China, information for Russia, and information for the United States. That's us. Is that why you started singing that song? Proud to be an American? No?
I don't know, I just came up with my head.
Okay. Anyways, and then for each country, we have one bar that's for production and one for that is consumption. I know you can't see the colors on your paper, so if you need to denote that the top one is always production and the bottom one's consumption, you can. Either write a P and a C or color one in or something, so you know. Sorry, can't write in color all the time. So that's what this graph is. And so those bars show us the BTUs that each country produces and consumes. Now, what does it say? It says, let each row represent a country. If countries are rows, how many rows are we going to have? Rows, country.
Well,
How many countries are there?
there's 3.
There's 3. All right. And then each column represent production and consumption levels. So we're going to have 2. 2. So do you want, let's just go in order of what the graph says. So we'll have China first, and then we'll have Russia, and then we'll have USA. And then we have, on the top, we've got production and consumption. Okay, always remember, columns hold up buildings, right? They're vertical. Okay, that's a column. If you get rows and columns confused, columns hold up buildings, so they have to stand up tall. All right, so what was China's production? Like, where is that on, about what that is at? 41? Let's go with 41. It's a little washed out there, sorry. But we're going to go with 41. And how much do they consume? About 42. Okay, so China is about even on what they produce and what they consume, right? Doing good. All right. Now, what about Russia? What's their production? About 45, 46. But what about their consumption, though?
No. Yeah.
28. So Russia is not using a whole lot of what they produce.
America's right at 71.
Oh yes, America. Proud to be an American. How much do we produce?
Right about 71.
71 BTUs. What about, and that's actually 71 times 10 to the 15th, so it's really a whole lot, but they scaled it down for us. Okay, and then how much do we consume?
About 96.
97, 96, somewhere in there. So, what does that tell you about us?
We use too much time.
We use a lot more than we produce. And just in general, how much do we use compared to everybody else? It's like more than both of them put together, right? Isn't that kind of crazy? Because China has more people than us, right? Isn't that crazy? Yeah, they don't have air conditioning all the time and stuff. So, just kind of interesting where we are. We're just spoiled, yeah. All right, so you just made a matrix out of all that, and it's kind of easier to look at, isn't it? Maybe? I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah, she's pretty easy.
But it'll be, if we needed to like deal with it mathematically, this would be a lot easier to deal with. So this is a matrix. Tanyan made a chart, but this is a matrix. All right.
Oh, yeah, no. Well,
Now this last one, they give it to us in a chart, Tanyan,
that's the same thing.
and we got to put it into a matrix. So we're talking about the U.S. Women's Olympic Gymnastics team qualifying scores in 2004. All right. Let's just look at what we have here. We've got 4 gymnasts and how many events?
About 4.
4. Okay, those are the events that the girls do. Boys don't do, instead of uneven bars, they have parallel bars, right? And instead of balance beam, they have the pommel horse. And they do a floor exercise, but theirs isn't to music. Girls do it to music. Boys just do it. But they also have the rings, too. I don't know. I'm just talking now about gymnastics. Okay, so y'all weren't very old in 2004. Yeah?
I was pretty old.
You were pretty old? Okay, so you may not remember these people. I only recognize one of the names, actually. But we're going to put all this information into a matrix. And the matrix, it tells us, we're going to call it matrix W. So we use a capital W, and we say that equals. And what do you want to be rows? We've got people or events. People are going to be the rows. So how many rows are we going to have? 4. I'm going to use their initials to label it.
M, B, C, K.
Because we've got 2 Courtneys there. It's a little confusing. A lot of C's.
C's are the best. Yeah.
All right, and then how many columns will we have?
About 4.
4 again. And the numbers are kind of long, so you might want to make it a little bigger. I made that mistake last period. So I'll just abbreviate there too. So floor exercise, vault, balance beam, and uneven bars. Now we just go and fill it in. So we'll say Mohini. What was her floor exercise score?
About 9.525.
9.525. And then just go down the line and fill it in. Can you do that without me saying all of it?
It's already in the same order. Why are we doing this?
Because Tanyan,
She said 2.
the book says 2. We're just practicing making matrices. That's an 8. That's a little confusing.
I done did best of. I
Where do
wrote.
we use this?
I took up 2 small. Just row.
Do you only record in our class?
Yeah.
Our class is the best.
Unless it doesn't work. Then I record in somebody else's class.
But our class is the best, bro.
Right.
Do it. But it's been easy some of you, right?
Alright, so last thing is that we're going to answer this question at the bottom. Which element represents Courtney McCool's score on the vault? So when we write an element, how do we, on the front, I told you what we do. What do we do? Huh?
CMV. Element.
C and V.
What?
Okay.
9.35?
I swear
Do
their
we
name's like-
represent it with an uppercase letter or lowercase letter?
Uppercase.
For an element,
Lowercase.
lowercase. So it's lowercase w. And then what comes next in the subscript? A column or a row?
Oh, row.
Row. So what row is Courtney McCool?
That's what I was saying.
CMV.
That's
Gotcha.
what I was saying.
Okay, so row 3, what column is vault?
2.
2. So if I, let's see if it'll let me do this. If, just imagine, I can't erase them. So imagine those labels are gone. If I told you Courtney McCool's score on the vault is element W32, could you find that and tell me what her score was?
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be like, okay,
Yeah.
row
Yeah.
3, column 2, it was 9.35.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Any questions? No. All right, do y'all recognize the name Carly Patterson?
No.
She was like, you know how, like each Olympics there's like one girl that everybody like attaches to?
Yeah.
She was that girl of that year.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Gabby, everybody attached to Gabby this past one. It should be coming up soon though.
Who's the other chick that Sean Johnson or whatever?
Yeah, Shawn Johnson, everybody attached to
Hey,
her.
grab me and collect it.
Anyways, go do your homework.